Hello, bookish friends. It's Ivy Reads with another book review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Blood Orange Duet by Karina Halle. These are the Bookish Box exclusive editions. So they've got the sprayed edges. I haven't actually opened Black Rose yet. I listened to it on audiobook because I like to keep them as nice as possible. But here are the customizations from Blood Orange. So you've got the foiling on the naked hardcover. And then it also comes with an author tip-in page that's signed by Karina Halle. And here is the character art on the reverse dust jacket. So that's Valtu, sorry, and that is Dahlia. The following review is going to contain a lot of spoilers. So if you haven't read the book or you don't like spoilers, this is the time to stop the video. Book 1, I gave 4 out of 5 stars. Book 2, I only gave 3. And I'll explain why that is. So the first one, Blood Orange, starts out with Dahlia, who's a witch hunter. You can read the reviews of the book, summaries of the books to know what they're about. But the reason I loved it was because there was such a well done mix of gothic atmosphere, horror with monsters and blood and people dying and disappearing, and the mystery of not like completely understanding what's going on. And then you've got your vampires versus witches feud going on. Dahlia's a or a vampire hunter who is a witch. Valtu is Dracula, for lack of a better word. He inspired Bram Stoker, but Bram Stoker obviously got it wrong, and Mina and Lucy were this. Mina was the first. His love back when he was a human before he turned into a vampire. She was brutally murdered. Then Lucy died in childbirth. But they were all the same woman, and Dahlia is now this woman. But he doesn't know because she's wearing a glamour because she's a witch, and any vampire upon seeing her would know she's a witch unless she wears this glamour. So I loved this because the love story made it so that he could fall in love with her all over again on her own merits. It's not just there's no I love you because I have loved you. She brought her own self to the table, with a completely blank slate, and he completely fell in love with her again, and I loved that. And they both bonded and were united by this feeling of, being lost, not fitting in, which I don't know if Valtu quite counts as not fitting in because he has so many friends, both in his secret life as a Italian music professor and his regular vampire Dracula. He's got friends in both. And so, but sure, that is what bonded them. And music. They both used music as a form of escape and to get lost in playing, and so obviously you've got the hot student teacher relationship that's forbidden, so that's a fun trope. The books, I would give a 5 out of 5 on the chili pepper spiciness rating, because I feel like a lot of the plot centralizes around sex, and there's a ton of sex scenes. Too much for my taste, but I know that everyone's preferences vary on that. For me, I prefer between none and maybe 2. I don't like much. I feel like it distracts from the plot. But if the sex is plot central and it involves character growth and progressing the plot forward, it can be enjoyable. In both cases with the books, I feel like some of the scenes were necessary. Vampires are like a metaphor for all of humans darkest desires and indulging in them, too much sex, too much drinking, like just gluttony, gluttony, gluttony. Like, so it makes sense that the author would want to show them being the most depraved, kinky, whatever, because I mean, it's a vampire. So that makes sense. But other times it was just there to be there, and it got distracting and, in my opinion, annoying. But if high spice is something you like, you'll really love it. They're well written scenes. They do they are BDSM centered, so I did like how how it was represented in the book, with a dom and sub relationship, and the dom Valtu giving aftercare after a scene and showing the sub that they're loved and valued afterward, um, and that everything is ultimately for the sub's pleasure, everything that's done. So I always appreciate when healthy sexual relationships are represented in books. In book two, Black Rose, oh, well, actually, let me finish. So, and then the other reason I loved Blood Orange so much is because in every reincarnation story, this is the time it's going to work out. This is the one. But it's not. Because in Blood Orange, it ends with him killing her when he finds out she's a witch. And I did not see that coming, and I loved it. Like, he strangles her to death. And I'm like, oh my God. And she's not even mad. She's just like, I'll find you in the next life. And I was just cracking up. I don't think that was meant to be the response, perhaps, to the ending, but I was so surprised and pleased by the subverted expectation that it was delightful. So that's why I gave that one such a high rating. Um, and then Black Rose, the sequel, is her next reincarnation. She comes back as Rose instead of Dahlia. I appreciated the flower names. Um, but this time she's reincarnated as a vampire. The vampires, if you've ever read Christine Feehan's Dark Prince series from the 90s, these are vampires that can have children. Like, there are different species. They're not like cursed like like a lot of vampire lore. Um, you can be infected and cursed, but it turns you into a raving animal. Versus if you're born this way, you just mature at 21 for females, 35 for men, which I always found really arbitrary numbers, but whatever. Um, Definitely promoting that age gap relationship. Um, anyway, so she's reincarnated into a vampire family. So she's gonna, and she's about to mature into a vampire at 21. So she's been a human, but she knew she was gonna turn into a vampire. So, and after she matures, she gets all her memories back from every single life. And she's like, I have to find Vol too. And I didn't like that because it, uh, it's too easy, you know, when you're playing with all the knowledge. It's like taking a test, but you have the cheat sheet answers right next to you, so you know you're gonna win. Like, yay. Which, you know, is great in tests. So cheat away, but like when you actually want to work for something, you don't want it just handed to you. Anyway, so but Valtu, in his pain and despair, uses a magical demon book of evil magic to make himself forget all of her lives, because in his mind, because he's the one that killed her, she's not going to come back and he can't live without her, and it's too painful. Okay, sure. But without ever having known her and having her soften him, he's just all of the bad desires: sex, blood, violence, selfishness, basically, like the worst aspects of vampirism. Anyway, so she, through a long series of events, tracks him down, and Basically, the only way she can get into his house is, and the only people who are allowed in his house are prostitutes. So she pretends to be a prostitute to get close to him, and they have the most unhealthy sex. And I get that it was there to demonstrate the difference between the Valtu of the previous book and the Valtu of now, who's purely selfish and self centered and a terrible Dom, who does not care about his subs. And so, how that could be unenjoyable. Anyway, and then through another series of events, he starts to fall in love with her again, and he's like, yeah, because he's the selfish Valtu now. I remember forgetting a woman. I was told I forgot one because it hurt too much. And I'm not really into pain. Pussy. Um, so I'm gonna forget you again. And Rose is so enraged by this, she destroys the book, which gives him back all his memories instantly. Another horrible cheat. So angry at this scene, I screamed. Um, like it was just the worst scene ever. He didn't have to do any work. He just instantly remembered her and is like, "Oh, my love, I'm so sorry." And she's like, "Oh, it's okay. You didn't do anything wrong. It's okay that you tried to run away. You're still daddy." And then they passionately hug, and I'm just gagging and vomiting all over the place because I'm like, when someone runs away and is a coward and is too juvenile to face emotional intimacy or anything, they don't get to suddenly be the dom that's in control, because that requires trust that he or she can take care of you and has your best interest at heart. And he has just lost all trust. Like, all my attraction to him ended when he went to forget her again and she forgave him. Gross. I hate finished this book because at that scene it was completely ruined for me. You know what would have been great? If he had realized how bad he effed up and destroyed the book himself and was rewarded with memories. That would have been great. That would have been character growth. But no, he didn't have to go through any growth. He just got to instantly have all the life lessons from the past. What else would have been great? What if she was the one courting him with all the memories this time? Whereas in the past, like with Lucy, he had the memories. And so they fell in love all over again, but only he knew that they had been together before. Like, that would have been a great parallel. There were so many different ways to do this, and she didn't do it. She took the freaking cheap way out, and I'm so angry. And then there were just so many sex scenes in this book. I was honestly just pressing skip, 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 because they were so boring. There was so much. And I'm just like, let's just get it over with. Come on. So I did like the happily ever after ending, but it felt unearned, and it was difficult to be happy for them because him running away and her just being a freaking doormat feels like some serious relationship issues that should be addressed and might come up later when, more bad stuff happens in the future, because more bad stuff always happens. So I am uncertain how I feel about recommending this series. I liked it. It will probably stick in my head. But I'm so angry at it that I struggle to encourage anyone else to read it, because I feel like the resolution in the entire second book just destroyed what I loved so much about the first one. The other thing I'll say about these books is there is some heavy content and trigger warnings. Do read them. Do be careful before deciding to read these books. They are there for a reason, and I appreciate the author taking the time to warn her audience before stepping in so they can go in prepared or not, as it is. So I guess I would recommend that. I liked them. We'll say that. I liked them. So if you're interested after all of this, read them. If what I said turned you off, don't read them. You won't be missing out that much. at all. So overall, because of how the series was resolved, I'd say the overall gets like a 3. So a 3 for me is like you can read it, you cannot read it. Do it, do you? What does this fit your vibe? Thank you.